Okay, so there's a couple of different ways that I can mask out the sky, and this will give us a good opportunity to go over the first few. So up here, if we go to our masking tools, we've got a couple right here. We've got our quick selection tool and magic wand tool. So both of these work similarly, but they're just a little bit different. So if I want to try to grab the sky, and I'm going to use, in this case, I'll use the magic wand tool. So what the magic wand tool is going to do is only going to select one particular color range. Obviously, this doesn't exactly come in handy when I have a gradient. But if we go in here, we select this section. When we hold down Shift, we get the little plus mark. Beside that, we're basically adding to our selection at this point. So that now by adding and adding, gave us a mask of those tonal values. So we can make our selection that way. Once we have our selection loaded, you can go down here to the mask button and add the mask. Now, right now, I just had the sky selected, so it's going to be what's visible. So whenever we have a mask clipped to an image, you'll see there are black values and white values. White values are 100% visible, and black values are invisible. Grays are somewhere in between. So basically, we just need to invert this mask. So I'm going to hold down Control and I to invert it. Let's go in here and see how our edges look. For the most part, pretty good. We've got some what you call haloing in here, where you get a little bit of the color kind of hanging on the edge. We can kind of clean up if we want to. Overall, that one's a pretty decent selection. So let's back this out. I'm actually going to hit Control J, duplicate this a couple more times. And then I want to get rid of these masks. So I'll call this one, our initial one right here, and call it Magic Wand. Okay. I'll turn him off, turn this guy on, grab his mask and move it over here to the trash can to delete it. And confirm that I do want to delete it. I'll go ahead and do the same for this guy. So I have him ready. Okay. So with this one, I'm going to try the quick selection. So if I go up here, switch over to the quick selection tool, it just gives me just like a brush. If I hit open bracket, make it smaller sample size, close bracket larger. So I'm just going to kind of click and drag and make a selection of my sky here with quick selection tool. Pretty similar to what we saw before. So we'll go ahead. This time, instead of applying the mask first, I'm going to go ahead and invert my selection now. So I'm going to hit Control I. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and invert my selection now. So I'm going to go up here to Select, Inverse, or alternatively, you could do Shift Control I. And now, drop the mask on, go look at the edges this time, kind of see what we came up with. Now, if we compare the two, actually, let's turn this guy off. You can see that that magic wand is a little bit rougher edge compared to, we'll go ahead and name this guy. The quick selection tool. So it's a little bit softer on the edge, kind of gives us a little bit more realistic look. Really got rid of some of that halo, and we still got some left, but nonetheless, did a lot better job cleaning that up. So let's go ahead and zoom out. Now, one other thing we can do to make selections directly to a background would be by using select color range. And it's going to give me this little dialog that's going to pop up, and it's going to say sample colors. So I'm going to go ahead and sample up here. Now, the way that this one works, you make your initial sample, sort of like how the magic wand was. Then I can go over here to where there is my color selector with a plus, and I'm adding to the sample at this point. So I can come through here, and keep adding everywhere it looks like I need a mask. Okay. And you notice it selected some of this water. I'm not really going to worry about that right now. I'm going to go ahead and can change the fuzziness of it. See right here how that adjusts, makes it really much sharper. That kind of softens things out. So I'm going to take this back around to where it was, let's say about 45, and hit OK. So now I've got all of this stuff selected, but I've got this down here I don't want. So if I go up here to the rectangular marquee tool, and then just like how you can hold down Shift and add to a selection, I can hold down Alt and subtract from a selection. So now it's got the little minus symbol. I'm holding down Alt. I'm just going to take it and draw a box around this edge that I want to deselect. So now I've got my sky again. So if you remember last time, I'm going up here to select inverse, Shift Control I. And now I'm going to mask this guy. Now let's go in here and look. Still got some roughness. Still got some roughness here, a little bit of haloing. So really, of the three for this situation, go ahead and name this color range. In this situation, I believe that quick selection tool is giving me the best result. Now, if I wanted to go in here and really get particular with some of this stuff, like in here in between these branches, I could always go in, grab my brush tool. What is it? It's very large at this point. I'm going to hit the open brackets, make it smaller. Make sure you have a little bit of softness. In this case, I'm still going for 100% softness. I'm going to go in here and make sure it does not have black here for the color. I'm going to go up here to set the default foreground and background colors. Now I'm going to be painting with black because this is the one that's on top. And I'm going to make sure that I have the mask selected. And I can go in here, paint out these sections if I really want to. I've got this super intense blue. And this is fine for detail work. The situation, case we've got right here, probably not as big a deal because this is so far away. On the horizon, you can kind of get away with just a little bit. Anyways, that's how you would go in and kind of clean up edges if I needed to. So the last thing we talked about was adding these clouds into the reflection on the water, because obviously if I can see the land masses right here reflected in the water, you would be able to see the clouds. So one other thing I can do is I can take my sky layer and I can duplicate it, Control J, bring it to the top. I'll call this reflection. And then I'm going to go back to my free transform, Control T, zoom out, hold down Shift, basically turn the sky upside down, enter. Now I'm going to do a really quick and easy mask setup on this one. I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool, make sure I have the reflection selected, draw a box right here, and I'm going to go ahead and add the mask, and then Control I to invert the mask. So now I have these clouds reflected on top. If I take this and let's just call it soft light, I can go in here, see where my edge is, and really just kind of touch this mask up. If I wanted to, I could actually blur the mask here globally using something like a Gaussian blur here. But it's actually easier if I just keep going back to my paintbrush. And let's close bracket, make it bigger. I'm just going to kind of go around through here, make sure I've got the mask selected, make sure I'm painting with black, and paint that guy right out, just like really. I'm just looking at that edge, just like that. So now maybe go in and take this opacity down just a little bit. And I might even want to blur this some, Gaussian blur. Actually, let's try that. Make sure we've got the image selected. Go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And we can kind of come back just a little bit. Something maybe about there. Okay. So that will work for our little basic setup. And kind of like I said, go through Magic Wand quick selection and color range. Sometimes one of these will be a little bit more effective than the other one, or at least get you to a starting point where you can repair it. But I did want to get you guys a little bit of experience with these. And now we'll jump over and talk about the magnetic lasso tool.